Hey, welcome everybody back, like I said, to another amazing episode here on the Veteran Influencers Podcast. Not season 3 yet. That's still going to be coming, as well as Ask a Vet as well. But I do have a special guest today. I actually met Kalani. He was my company commander at Kilo Company. You know what I'm saying? 3rd Battalion, stand up, all the way up.
Kilo.
Big shout out to that 3rd Battalion. Love that big blue. But so I met him there. It was an awesome experience, and like I said, something kind of small that, you know, looking from the outside in is like, oh, why is that a big deal? Is I remember the first thing that I noticed that you did differently was when we did those the depot hikes. Remember the depot hikes? I remember you were the first one that said, I think the seniors ended up taking the platoons, or I don't know, one of the officers probably took the platoons, and you actually like bought us food to eat like after those hikes. And I was like, wow, somebody is, you know, and actually paying attention. It's like, you know, we're doing all these things, we're, you know, exposing all this energy, and now it's like someone that actually cares enough to feed us. So I definitely appreciated that. Along with when we went to during forming, we went to the bays while the chief's teaching for IT and stuff, and you know, we had all the families come out there. That was absolutely amazing. And that literally stuck with me, and I still do things like that for my shot. Not only that, but you know, just whenever people speak about you, you know, to me that's a big indicator of who you are, is when others speak for you and you don't have to speak for yourself. And I've never heard any type of I've never heard anything negative associated with your name. So much respect to you, sir. I know now you're doing you've been doing entrepreneurship for a while. I know you did the camis, the canines. I'm going to let you tell your story because you can do it a whole lot better than me. Ladies and gentlemen, Kalani Creutzburg.
Hey, I appreciate that. I want to highlight something about my time on the drill field with you and all those wonderful drill instructors. Is as a leader, I felt that my job was to take care of you guys and create an environment where you guys can actually succeed. I had witnessed drill instructors getting fried like left and right, and I was not okay with that. And the 3 years that I was there, my biggest, my number one, my proudest accomplishment was simply that not one drill instructor got RFI'd under my belt, period.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
And
that's a big deal.
Here we are, what is it, like 10 years later and whatnot, and that's the thing that I remember. So if you've been on the drill field, you know how important that is. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's all good. Just the drill instructors know. Anyway, yeah. but the other piece of it was just making sure that the families were taken care of, right? So I knew that if things weren't right at home, if you guys did not have the support of your family members, your spouses, your kids, etc., if things weren't right at home, then there was no way I was going to be able to get your 100% at work. So I had to take care of your families, and it was truly an honor. And to this day, I still have Marines and their families reaching out to me, and we stay connected on Facebook and whatnot. Anyways, we're all human beings, you know, and we're put on this earth to stay connected with each other, to be in connection with each other, coming from the heart. You know, I wanted to get beyond the uniform, get beyond the rank, and be in connection. And Marines, we work hard. We, especially on the drill field, it's a whole different world over there.
Yes, sir.
Whole different world. But I got to witness you guys doing an awesome job, taking care of each other. And like I said, nobody got RFI'd under my belt. So,
no, that's actually like just the fact that that's what you mentioned from your experience of being on the drill field. Like I said, that once again just says a lot more about who you are and what your end states were while you were down there, you know?
Yeah.
And we could talk about more specifics as far as like, you know, what we know about for the drill field when we get to that part. But yeah, that means a lot that there's actually someone that, you know, cares about others probably more than themselves. And that's how I feel how I am. So.
Hey, real quick, I realize I've been saying RFI this whole time. That's a term in the ADU world. My apologies. I meant to say RFC. So For all you drill instructors, all you Marines out there making fun of me right now, I corrected myself. Get over it. Next.
I was thinking about that, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna just let it rock. Because I'm like, no, it's a C, and not an I. Like those, like the grammar people that whenever you put a post, you actually misspelled this.
It's all good. It's all good. That was another thing, as a Marine Corps officer, like you absolutely 100% got judged on your writing.
Oh yeah.
If your writing was on point, you're a shitty Marine Corps officer. Period. Period. So, but even though it was a pain then, like I value those things today. So I think I attribute a lot of my successes today in the civilian world because of my writing, and that's a skill set that I picked up through my experience in the Marine Corps.
Absolutely. Wait, you know what I'm saying? We're going to definitely get to the meat and potatoes, but I want to know about baby Kalani. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what it was like growing up in North Hollywood, because all I know about from Hollywood is what I see on TV. And I'm sure there's different parts of Hollywood. I've seen some bad, but, you see all the glamour, people on the TV shows and stuff. So what was it like growing up?
I mean, it was cool. Like I grew up by my grandparents. They raised me. Mom and dad got divorced when I was 7. I'm the oldest of 4, so I remember everything that went down during the divorce, but I wasn't old enough. I was 7. I wasn't old enough to have an opinion, to express myself, I didn't know what my feelings were at the time. So one night I'm with my parents. The next night I'm being raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, which was all good at the time. But, as a kid, I had a normal childhood just like anybody else. But what I did not know it had done to me over the years during my childhood was I had a void in my heart. And I got to see my dad every other weekend or what have you, and mom's wasn't really around because she was busy working, and I had a void in my heart. Mom and dad wasn't there. So what did that create? It created a version of Kalani in the little boy in me who was always seeking attention from his dad, attention from his mom. And that led me to do some pretty remarkable things as an adult. It's driven a lot of my decisions, but that part is still etched in my heart, in my soul, where I'm the little boy and Kalani is always looking for approval from his parents. And I would imagine that there's a lot of folks out there that could potentially resonate. But yeah, man, I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to get the approval of my dad. My dad got out of the Marine Corps as a master sergeant, retired as a master sergeant.
Okay.
And my cousin was in the Marine Corps, got out as a sergeant. My little brother was in the Marine Corps. My sister is the only one who didn't go Marine. She was in the Navy, or she is in the Navy, but she's an IDC. She's a corpsman on the green side, so we show her love. Went to school, went to college. That too was just the little boy in me trying to seek approval from my parents. So today, it continues to drive me, and it has set me on this warpath to be, to express my entrepreneurship and just stay on the grind.
Well, you mentioned the effects of a divorce in a household. I went through the same thing. I think I was probably like 5. I still vividly remember like being in the house, our old house. This is when I lived in Bermuda. I can still pick. There's still like flashes in my mind where I could see like different scenes of the arguing and all that stuff. So being 7, I can definitely see you probably still remembering pretty clearly, because I can still pretty clearly remember those times. But you also had, you have 2 brothers and a sister, and I'm sure that affected them as well.
Yeah, I did. They were so young that they don't really remember the divorce or that whole situation. So what's interesting is amongst all my siblings, we all had different versions of the childhood, which is, we work on forming and establishing and maintaining a bond today. But the reality is we have different versions of our childhood. In any case, got two younger brothers. Like I said, one of them was in the Marine Corps infantry. He did his time in Afghanistan. Now he is an electrician by day, and on his off time as a hobby, that dude rides bulls. He's a cowboy. He rides bulls. No shit, man. Getting on 1,000-pound bulls. And then when he's not riding them, he steps in front of them. They call him bullfighter. He's a dude who's in the rodeo dressed as a clown. So when the bull rider falls off, he's running in there to go save that bull rider, right? So he tells me he does that because that's the only thing that can give him the same adrenaline rush that he felt when he was out in Afghanistan in a firefight when his platoon commander got killed in action. So everybody has their own way of dealing with their stuff, and I'm really proud of him for picking up that hobby. Probably safer things he could be doing, but hey. And then my other brother, he did not serve. He didn't join the Marine Corps, but he's out doing good things, and I'm really proud of him. He's working in the construction business, and he's got one baby now and another baby on the way. So there's four of us. Going back to my childhood, being the oldest, I had to grow up real quick. And a lot of folks say that I'm always Mr. Serious. A lot of folks say that, that I sometimes need to just let go and be a little corny. But the reality is it comes from my childhood, like I had to grow up real quick, and I'm the first one in my entire family to go to college. And when I joined the Marine Corps, obviously I did the officer thing and whatnot. So that was cool. Made my mark amongst my fellow officers and in the Marine Corps, and I'm very proud of that.
As you should be. That's a huge accomplishment.
It's all about service. And so no longer is Kalani seeking the approval of his father. Now I find myself just always wanting to be of service in the community and doing everything I can to make a positive impact. That's my purpose, and that's my mission in life. And so if you know my story, if you know the companies I have started, you will also know that it's all about service, and it's all about just helping others.
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely followed you throughout your journey because I've gotten so many ideas, and I've learned a lot from how you not only structure your company, but like you said, what's the baseline behind it, the reasoning behind it. It kind of helps me to keep on track with my purpose as well. So growing up in Hollywood, so you're the oldest of four kids, parents divorced at 7. So obviously, your younger siblings were still kind of probably some of them were 1. Some of them probably weren't even born at the time. And so you had to grow up kind of fast. And I know you spoke about how your dad was in the Marine Corps. I'm not sure if that part actually resonated to you as far as feeling I know you talked about you felt like you needed to please your dad, or always felt like you needed to what's the word I'm looking for? You always had to show up to him, right? Yeah. It had to mean something to him. But you also had, so you were doing all that, but you ran track in high school. Is it high school or middle school?
High school.
In high school. So I know what it's like to do that, because I remember I moved out young and I still played sports, had 4 jobs, went to school, and I know that could be kind of stressful, but after kind of growing up to a point to where it probably didn't affect as much, you said you grew up with your grandparents. How was it balancing your life and also I know I helped to raise my little brother, raising kids and playing sports as well?
I mean, as a kid, I didn't think much of it, but looking back on it now, I think I stayed with my grandparents for as long as they could manage me. It got to a point where I was just out of control, getting into trouble, too much trouble, and I needed a male figure in my life. So in high school, I had moved from my grandparents. They released me. They let me go and allowed me to live with my father.
Okay.
And so I moved from North Hollywood to Riverside.
Okay.
And now in high school, I'm living with my dad, and this dude absolutely whooped my ass. And I mean, I got the belt, and I was taught to harden up and don't be a dumbass, because I was getting into a lot of trouble living with my grandparents. So I got a new start in Riverside, and I didn't have to like be this person that I wasn't, you know, a little kid always getting into trouble and doing things I wasn't supposed to. So in high school was my turning point. Still getting bad grades. I was never a good student in school, in high school. But I discovered sports. I tried football, wasn't really my thing. I tried basketball. It was my thing, but I sucked at it. The one thing I was good at was running. So not long distance running, my PFT scores will reflect.
That 3 to 5.
But I was good at sprints. And so what I ended up doing in track was I ran hurdles. I ran the 110 high hurdles, the 330 intermediate hurdles, and I also ran the 4x400, and I ran anchor. So that was my thing. And then I discovered that I had a leadership side to me, and I started picking up some leadership roles on the track team, as well as in the student government, and doing all these things. And I discovered a new side of me. So after school, after high school, is when I ventured out on my own. My father, like I said, he taught me how to be a man. He told me every birthday, he said, boy, when you turn 18, only thing I'm giving you for your birthday is matching luggage, so you better have a plan. And he was serious. So every single summer, from one grade to the next, I had to work. When all my friends got to stay at home, play video games, my ass was working. And it was outside, it was hot, it was sunny, and I hated my life. But every time I went back to school, I was the only kid who had money in his pocket. So, I mean, shit, looking back on it now, I remember I bought my first vehicle with my own money. I paid for my own insurance with my own money.
I bet that felt good.
I paid for my gas with my own money. My dad wouldn't give me a damn thing. And I hated him for it at the time, but, you know, looking back on it now, you know, I wouldn't think to ask my parents for nothing. I don't care how hard it gets. I'm not going back home to live with my parents. I love them to death, but I just don't have that in me. And, you know, being the entrepreneur that I am today, I got 2 successful companies, and we're building homes now for other people, which we're going to get into. Got employees and whatnot, and I have to attribute that to the foundation that my father gave me, which was I learned real quick to be resourceful. I learned real quick what it meant to make your own money. So,
no, I definitely get that, because honestly, I would watch all the kids like, hold on. Whoa, sorry. I would watch all the kids like skateboarding outside, playing basketball outside, and I'm over here shaving palm trees. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, you know, you figure shaving a palm tree would be easy. Like, he gave me like this rusted saw, and it's not cutting anything. It was terrible. But I look back, and even though I was, like you said, I was mad at the time. I was like, dude, I can't ever do anything. But my work ethic, because of that, or like my understanding of what I need to do in order to get where I want to be, is so much stronger than a lot of other people, where they can't fully vision how to get out of their rut or whatever they're in. So just like you said, I kind of attribute that to my dad as well. Even though I don't know if I would do it again if I went back. I don't know, but
I remember being outside. Dude, my dad used to be inside watching the football game, doing whatever it is adults do. kids had to be outside. I could not come inside the house to get a glass of water. I'd knock on the door. I would knock on the door like, Dad, can I come in? I got to use the bathroom. Use a tree, boy.
Yep.
Dad, it's hot outside. Can I get some water? Use a garden hose, boy.
Yep.
You don't know, like right now, just talking about this, I could taste garden hose water right now. If you don't have that in you, you did not have a hard childhood. Don't talk to me about no hard childhood because you don't know shit. unless you've been forced to live, drink off of that nasty, hot-ass hose water.
You got to run it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're drinking the hot water and then it turns cold. Like, man. But these kids today, they sit there and play video games, and then people wonder why society is the way it is today. Because kids can't get a well-deserved ass whooping like they all need.
No, that's facts. And I think we all know people, even some of our friends, where like you can be like, yeah, you never got whooped, did you? And I could tell.
Exactly.
Oh man, no, I'm with you on that, and I think a lot of other people can relate to that as well. So, you know, having a strong father, someone that's put you through these type of trials and tribulations throughout your life, helping you become a man, what would make you still want to join not only the military but still that same service? Because I honestly almost didn't join the Marine Corps because I was like, man, I don't want to be like, okay, I'm going to say this like kind of sparingly, but I didn't want to be like my dad to an extent. Like he was just, I felt like he was too rough around the edges, and I didn't want to turn into that exact thing. So I'm like, But then I went to go see the Navy. Navy wasn't there, or the Army, one of those. And the Marine Corps was like, hey, man, who you looking for? Hey, why don't you come this way?
And look at you now.
Yeah.
You know, I just remembered a situation with my father. You know, I told you, he said for my 18th birthday, all he was going to give me was matching luggage.
Right.
He showed up in my room that morning. I still had 2 months, maybe 3 months left of high school. I was a senior. And so he said, obviously, I'm not kicking you out until you're done with high school. But I want to know, what is your plan? You got options in life. If you go to school, you go to college, then we could work something out, but you're paying rent. Right? He was like, I would encourage you to serve this country, at least do 4 years. And he was like, I don't even care what branch you join. I would tell you to join the Marine Corps, but my ass has been with you the past 18 years. And frankly, I don't think you have what it takes. And he walked away. Yeah.
He hit you with that?
And he walked away. And remind you, here's this little boy who's always trying to get approval from his dad. So I didn't understand it then. I was angry. That only fueled my anger towards my father. And so I ended up, after high school, I moved out. So we were in Riverside. I moved back to LA, did my thing as a young man, running the streets, doing a bunch of shit I shouldn't have been doing. But fast forward, I joined the Marine Corps. Before joining the Marine Corps, here's what most people don't know about me. I enlisted in the Navy. Yep. And I was in the delayed entry program for 6 months. And I was wrapping up my junior college time, was getting my AA. And my wife at the time was pregnant, and so I was just trying to do the right thing, and I needed some income, and right. I wanted to do something where my kid could look up to me. So that's why I went in the military. But I was going to go Navy, and I was going Navy 100% out of spite for my dad. Period. And frankly, I did want it like the easy way out, so I figured Navy.
Oh, shots fired!
So, anyways, I was in a delayed entry program for 6 months. Had some time to think about it. Somebody said, "Hey, why don't you just finish school, get a 4-year degree, then go in, and then you could do this officer thing?" And I was like, "What's an officer?" And so I got hooked up with the University of San Diego. And I did the ROTC program and I was still in the Navy. I was a Navy midshipman and I was supposed to go in as an ensign. And it was my senior cruise, my 2 weeks on the USS Peleliu, that made me decide the Navy is not for me. Nope.
What happened?
I was on that ship and I was paired up with an engineer, an ensign, or Lieutenant JG. And he was super cool. And he said, I don't know why you would want to follow me around. If I was you, I'd just stay in your stateroom and play video games the whole time. But I went to see what he did, the most boring job ever. When he pulled duty at 02 in the morning.
Yep.
And we were up in the bridge. I got to see him steer the ship. That was cool, but we weren't seeing anything. I mean, it was pitch black out there. The whole time on the ship, I was bored as nothing to do, but I saw the Marines. They woke up every day. They went to the gym. They ate chow. They played some spades. They went back to the gym. They ate chow again. They cleaned their weapons. They did everything together. And I remember when they were walking through the passageway, everybody just got out their way. No questions asked. Just got out their way. I saw that. I witnessed it. And I saw, more importantly, how their platoon commander hung out with them and spent time with them, how they interacted with each other, how there was this mutual respect. It was just something that resonated with me. It was almost like it was a language that I understood because I had been around it for the past 18, 19, 20 years.
Right.
And so coming back off that ship, I went straight to my commander and I said, you know what? I don't think Navy's for me.
Oh, I bet he didn't like that.
I don't think Navy's for me. Oh, yeah. The commanding officer called me in his office and he says, do you have any idea what you're doing, son? You're about to graduate and get commissioned immediately. You have a kid. You have another kid on the way. But if you go the Marine route, you still have to go to OCS. There's a high chance that you may not make it through. And then what? Navy's not taking you. You've already shown us you're a quitter, all these things. And I had already, because it was my senior year, I couldn't get commissioned through the ROTC program.
Right.
So I had to get out of ROTC and I had to go through the OCC route, the regular hit up the officer recruiter. And when I went, check this out, when I went to the officer recruiter, it was this little 5'2" gal who looked at me and asked me what made me think that she was going to just sign me up as soon as I walked in through the doors, gave me back my paperwork and sent me packing. Did not sign me up, was not entertained, nothing.
Wait, why? Did you walk in cocky or something?
I was so lost. And it made me so angry. And it tapped into a piece of Kalani that was like, fuck you, I'm doing this. And I showed up the next day and I said, let's start this over again. I just quit Navy ROTC because I want to be a Marine. Period. This is going to happen. I will go somewhere else if you're not going to do this for me. And she looked at me and smiled and she said, that's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to see, because anybody who joins the Marine Corps is doing it because they want to be a Marine, nothing else, right? We're not doing it because we want some special MOS. We're not doing it for some bullshit ass college bonus. We're doing it purely because we want to earn the title of Marine. And that's what she needed to see for me. And I'm so grateful that she did that. And actually, there's the connection here because my dad knew what he was doing when he looked at me and said, I don't think you have what it takes to be a Marine, and walked away. He was simply checking me. right? So, anyways,
that's a recruiting tactic.
absolutely.
Like I would say, yep, my recruiter did that because I was hesitant to go, and I was like, hey, I just need a little bit more time. And I tried to say it again. I was like, you know what? Maybe you just, obviously you don't have it in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't hack it, then it is what it is. You know, we don't need you. I'm like, who you talking to right now? You know what I'm saying? I was like, you must not know who I am. I was like, not only am I gonna go, but I'm gonna show out while I do it, you know?
So anyways, that was my experience. Somehow, made it all the way through. Best decision I ever made. OCS was not easy, not by any means. My sergeant instructors definitely made me earn the title for sure. But I'm glad that I did it, and it was the best thing for me as a human being, as a man. Otherwise, I would have been stuck on a ship for 4 years, questioning myself. More importantly, questioning, like, I would have never known if I had what it took to be a Marine, and that would have ate me alive for the rest of my life. So I'm glad I made that decision.
What time of year did you go to OCS?
October.
Okay.
October 2006.
So it was still cold, but it ain't nothing like that January one.
Yeah.
That January one, oh.
It got cold towards the end, but
not the down. I wasn't trying to downplay. I was just thinking about, because I was hoping you said the January one. We could talk about the having to break the ice up.
all that meant was I graduated in December and showed up to TBS in January, February timeframe. So I got that ice.
Hey, you go get that work regardless. They go get that. Oh, so all right. So you talked about going to OCS, and now here you are, a commissioned officer. What, from the time you commissioned to just like maybe like your early years as lieutenant, like what was your experience like?
As a company grade officer, well, as a brand new second lieutenant, I mean, TBS was a drag. That sucked for 6 months. I think every second lieutenant hates their time in TBS. I'd rather go to OCS 10 times over than go to TBS for sure.
Really?
Yeah, easily. But as a second lieutenant, having reported for duty, I absolutely sacrificed myself. We lived on base.
Okay.
My house was down the street. There were nights my ass slept behind my desk on the floor because I was so stressed out trying to learn my job. I was with 2-6, and right when I reported for duty, we got tapped for BLT, which meant my ass was going right back on a ship.
Got him.
Yeah. So it's funny how life works. Anyways, I had a lot of learning to do. And I'm glad that I paid my dues. I'm glad that I started on the ground side. It was not easy. It was extremely stressful, but it made me the man that I am today. And I believe in my heart of hearts, it's the reason why I had been so successful as a captain, as a major. And I'm sure if I actually stayed in, I would have continued to make rank with no problem. But there was just a calling of mine that I had to see if I had what it took in the civilian world. And I'm crushing it out here, which is what we're going to start talking about soon. But yeah, being a second lieutenant, being a first lieutenant, it was really about learning who I am, really.
What do you think was the hardest challenge that you dealt with as a new officer?
Having to hold my Marines accountable was the biggest challenge for me, because there was always this part of Kalani who was like, or second lieutenant, first lieutenant Creutzburg, I should say, who it's like, who am I to say this Marine is doing something wrong? Like, who am I? Like, I always had this thing where You had to have your shit wired, especially on the drill field. If I was going to tell a drill instructor, their shit sucks that day, like my shit needed to be wired tight, and I got good at it for sure. But as a Marine, as a young company grade officer, I had to have a backbone, and it was difficult for me. And I struggled with. There was a colonel who brought me into his office. This is going to sound really bad, but it was good for me. And this full-bird colonel says, "Second Lieutenant, always make sure that you're always willing and capable and ready to shoot your own dog in the face." And I was like, I didn't say anything. And he was like, "That's the part where you should be taking notes." And I still have that green book, my little green monster. And on page 1, it says, "Be able to shoot your own dog in the face." And what he meant was you got to be able to hold your Marines accountable. And if your Marines think that you don't have the backbone to hold them accountable, it's going to be a very painful ride, right? So that was probably one of the hardest pills that I had to swallow. Yeah.
I know what you mean about that, because, sometimes us as drill instructors, we get this stigma that, when you get back in the fleet, it's like, we're getting a drill instructor. Like, So me, I tried to counteract that whole situation. Like sometimes I'm overly on the other side because I don't want to have that stigma being put onto me, and then I'm displaying it. Oh, he's doing that because he's a drill instructor, So it's not hard for me to hold Marines accountable. It's just like how I go about doing it. I mean, nobody wants to NJP Marines, Nobody wants to write up bad paperwork. But I know what you mean. Like sometimes if you're hesitant to do it, or if you don't show that you can do it, it's just like you give an inch, they take a foot. I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah. So it's not, I just want to be perfectly clear. This was not about any of the Marines that were under my charge. This was 100% like my comments are a reflection of me as that young second and first lieutenant, right? As a leader. It was a leadership challenge, and I had to wrap my head around that, because it was very easy as a second lieutenant, as a first lieutenant, to just want to be everybody's friend.
Right.
And that's the worst thing that I could have done for myself. So you have to strike that balance. And in the fleet, it was hard. I mean, I hate to say, but I didn't have the support that the big Marine Corps told me I was going to have in TBS. When you hit the fleet, you're going to have that gunny, you're going to have that staff sergeant, like they're going to be doing this, that, and the other. I didn't have that. And so it wasn't until I got to the depot, and I think the Marine Corps should make it such that, I know it's physically impossible, but every company grade officer should go through the depot, have some time on the depot. Because for me, it wasn't until then that I truly saw and witnessed and experienced and gained an appreciation for what a gunny does, what a staff sergeant does, what a sergeant does, right? Once I saw the different layers of responsibilities and capabilities and maturity and all of that, I got to tell you, when I went back to the fleet after the depot, all my shit was on point, and I wasn't wavering from nothing. And I expected the same thing from these Marines. And it wasn't like I was somebody thought, well, we're not drill instructors, sir. I was like, no, but you're staff NCO,
Right.
And so as you go back to the fleet, and people will see you as a prior drill instructor, et cetera, it's like, no, you're just a locked on staff NCO, period.
Yeah, and like I said, it's always, I think that statement's going to always get thrown, even if you're not raising your voice, or then people come up with this thing, oh, you have this look that you're giving, and it just kind of makes people feel a certain way. I'm like, what else do you got? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I change the way I look at people? You know what I mean? It's like, it's always some reason, like, of why, like, you know, I'm intimidating somebody, or, you know, or drill instructors are intimidating. I can't get rid of this voice. It's going to be like this forever, you know?
Yeah. But I want to say, because I don't want to paint myself as like this dude who is always walking around ready to shoot his own dog in the face. And perfect timing. I saw you choke on that one. So like that wasn't me. In fact, what it turned me into was, and I Sergeant Major Melendez will say, like I was very good.
Love that dude.
I was very good about if a Marine did something that warranted an NJP or what have you.
Right.
Before we went that route, I would have spent a solid 5 minutes staring at myself in the mirror, asking myself and asking the Sergeant Major, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently, etc. Because an NJP, as an example, I don't even know why we're talking about NJP, but whatever. That's reactive leadership.
Facts.
Reactive leadership. So once I figured that out, it was like, okay, let's be proactive. And proactive leadership looks like taking care of the Marine, taking care of the Marine's family, setting conditions to where they succeed, setting conditions to where they're consciously aware of, you know, the things they should be doing, shouldn't be doing, etc. Like every Marine wakes up in the morning wanting to be the best Marine that they can be. Every Marine. Let me say it differently. There's not a single Marine out there who wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to fuck today up. Nobody says that. They throw on their uniform and they try and be the best person that they can be. And if that's true, if you believe that to be true, which I do, then as a leader of that Marine, set the conditions so that they can succeed every single day. And then they go home feeling like they've accomplished something, feeling like they've contributed towards something that's much bigger than themselves. Anyways, that's what I did. So those early stages of be able to shoot your own dog in the face, I took that for what I needed to understand it to mean and transformed it into my own thing. Well, I'm not going to be a reactive leader. I'm going to be a proactive leader. And like I said at the start of this podcast, one of my biggest accomplishments was not a single Marine, not a single drill instructor got RSC'd under my belt.
You gotta throw that C in there. Oh, that's funny. You know, being on the drill field is, you know, a lot of people always talk about how we have the, you know, the 1%. And it's definitely true, but of the, or 10%, of those 10%, there's definitely those ones that somehow made their way over there, or they changed their mindset in the wrong way. And so when people ask me, like, you know, how was the drill field? Like, I'm like, are you asking because you just want a quick glimpse, or do you want me to like tell you my truth? There were definitely some people that were down there, is sometimes what they call toxic type leadership. And I think sometimes that kind of stood out to me and kind of pushed like a lot of the good stuff to the side. Not all the time and not mostly, but there were certain individuals that were down there that I wish I would have liked to never ran into them, you know, and maybe it helped me by running into them, by knowing what not to be like. But did you have that type of experience at all, or for you everything was just roses and flowers?
It was definitely not roses or flowers. Yeah, I mean, I've had my experiences. You know, I'll think about my time as a captain. Okay, being surrounded by other captains, I honestly felt like I was in this Shark Tank. And if I didn't do something, if my riding wasn't on point, if I wasn't running 18-minute, 3 miles, whatever, like I was constantly being judged. And it was even worse on the drill field where it's like this small fishbowl right? Where everybody's looking at everybody, and all the captains are trying to be a company commander, and so they're trying to one up each other every single day. It was exhausting, and I saw bad leadership, and I'm sure other captains will say that I was a bad leader. I for sure was labeled as being too soft. I actually got counseled for being too soft with my Marines. That's wild to me.
Like with the hats, or are you talking about like the chief or a first sergeant?
Everyone.
Okay.
I was not willing, not able to NJP Marines. I was too soft. And it goes back to what I was saying, like that. I knew in my heart of hearts, it wasn't it. First of all, I had a really hard time believing some recruit over a Marine who's already proven himself. Nope, wasn't happening. Unless I saw with my own eyes, like it was going to take a lot of convincing, right? And we did our fair share of investigations for sure. I always wanted to get to the truth, but I didn't start off by saying, "Oh, just because some recruit said X, Y, and Z, it must be true." Not on my clock. So, anyways, all that translated into, I was a little too soft, but that wasn't true. I was just trying to take care of the Marines and set the conditions, etc. And that follows. I still hold that with me today. That leadership approach is still with me today in the company that I run with ADU Geeks. All I'm trying to do here is set the conditions to where that person, my employee who shows up to work, can succeed. Nobody should ever feel like they're working in an environment where no matter what they do, they're just not going to succeed, right?
Right.
Nobody, I wouldn't want to work in those conditions. I have worked in those conditions for sure. And you know what you get? You get some dude who's sleeping behind his desk, even though his house is right down the street, because he's too stressed and too scared to leave work, So, yeah.
That's, man, and I like the fact that you mentioned those other things, like the hardship portion of it, because all too often everybody wants to be politically correct, or they're trying to preserve this image, right, by being tough all the time, and they don't want to talk about the times or things that they struggled with, or they just kind of talk about it and they brush over it. But it's definitely good to see the goods and the bads about it. It's good the fact that we're even talking about it. It definitely helps to release some stress to have somebody that relates to it to be able to get those things out. But you went from, and that was when you were active duty, but you went from active duty, you transitioned into the reserves, and you picked up major in the reserves?
I did, yes.
Okay.
So I went into the reserves as a captain still.
Okay.
Hung out at 23rd Marines, had a great time. It was a little bit of a transition going from the drill field to the reserve community.
Right.
Opposite ends of the galaxy.
Facts.
But it was a great transition, and I'm glad that I experienced that. So if you're an active duty Marine who's like thinking about getting out, I would encourage you to, on your way out, make a pit stop in the reserve community. And what you'll find is that's the best kept secret in the Marine Corps, man. Like, they have it made, the reserve Marines, because you could ride both sides of the fence. You could be civilian doing your thing. You could also be a Marine on the weekends, or if you want to do more than just the weekend, you could do 30 days for the month. You could do a whole year. You could pick up the phone and say, "I'm tired of working this civilian job. Will you please deploy me?" They'll ship you like that day. It's literally, you've got a lot of control over your own career in the reserve community. So if there's one thing I tell Marines, it's always don't write off the reserve community. I thought it was just being a weekend warrior. No, it's way more than that, way better than that. Anyways, went to the reserve community as a captain. Had a great time, deployed with the reserve Marine Corps. Did a bunch of things, saw more than I got to see even on active duty. And then I eventually picked up Major, and the Marine Corps called me back to active duty for a year, which was great. I said, "Where are you sending me? What's the gig?" And they were like, "Just come on over to Miramar." And I was like, "Oh, the wing? The wing? I heard you guys wear board shorts and flip-flops to work. That's what I heard."
Oh, so, no.
So I went and hung out with MACG 38 and Marine Air Control Group, and I had a wonderful time. Awesome Marines over there. I got to see a different part of the Marine Corps that I had never been exposed to, being on the ground side for so long.
Right.
And it was cool. But yeah, it was a major during that time. And but eventually I hit a wall. I said, you know what? I can't keep riding both sides of the fence. I really got to commit to something. At the end of that year, the Marine Corps gave me the opportunity to come back to the Marine Corps, active duty, like I had never left. And I took a chance on myself. I said, thanks, but no thanks. I got to prove to myself that I have what it takes in the civilian world. And so here we are today. And I'm there are parts about the Marine Corps that I definitely missed: the brotherhood, the sense of purpose, the mission, right? Like the level of responsibility. Can't get that out in the civilian world unless you make it for yourself, unless you create it for yourself. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur doing my own damn thing, because nowhere else is somebody going to give me the level of responsibility that I have here. And that responsibility of paying the bills, making payroll, dealing with clients, and just making really big decisions. I can't get that adrenaline rush anywhere else unless I create it for myself. So I've become this, because of my Marine Corps experience, I've become this serial entrepreneur.
No, I love it. And like I said, there's a few people that are on my timeline that I have followed for a while to kind of like see that I've seen their journey throughout entrepreneurship. And it's definitely not as easy as some people make it look. But my first experience with you as far as entrepreneurship was the Camis and Canines. And now, is that still active right now? Are you still doing that?
It's still a thing. I'm not with that organization anymore. But you know, I'm glad that we started this podcast the way you did, because one thing that I would want somebody to take away from this is, like, just because we're officers doesn't mean we don't got problems. Like, doesn't mean we don't got struggles. I had major issues. I had major problems. And when I left active duty and I did my reserve time, somewhere in there, life was hard for me. You know, life was hard, and I fell into a deep, deep state of depression. And I had my run-ins with suicidal thoughts. And I went through, you know, I've been divorced twice, and I couldn't reconcile how I could lead Marines, but I could not lead my own household. And so it was this dark, dark secret that I had, and nothing made sense up here. And I remember standing in front of my Marines one day, 180 of them, and I gave them this typical brief on a Friday. You know, if you've on your way out the door, don't drink, don't drive. If you're going to drink, have a plan, blah, blah, blah. I still got it memorized in my head. But then part of that was, if you need help, raise your hand, call Military One Source, whatever. There was one particular Friday when I said those words. I released the Marines. I about-faced walked right into the colonel's office, and I said, "Sir, I need a step down from command." So what are you talking about? I said, "I just told 180 Marines that if they need help, call Military One Source, and I know I'm the one that needs to make that call." He said, "What?" And so I ultimately checked myself into the VA hospital to get the help that I needed. And it was a secret that I kept from everybody. During that time, I was sleeping in my car. I was going from one 24-hour fitness to another just so I could take a shower. I was coming to drill so that I could get some food, so that I can get a paycheck from my drill weekend. It was difficult. The civilian life was hard. I was away from my kids. I was up in NorCal. My kids were here. Like, my whole life was turned upside down. So even though I wasn't necessarily homeless sleeping in a tent, but I was sleeping in my car for weeks, as a secret, I did have an experience with the homeless community. I'm sharing this for two reasons. One is because, again, officers are not exempt from life's problems. We got issues too. I did. I raised my hand and I asked for help. I got the help that I needed. The Marine Corps took care of me, more than took care of me. The VA took care of me. Standing up on my own 2 feet, realizing how easy this could be for any one of us to become homeless, for any one of us to have suicidal thoughts, for any one of us to be struggling internally. I said, you know what? I need to help others. And that's why I started Camis and Canines, was to help other homeless veterans. And one thing led to another. When I went from, I was just walking up and down sidewalks and literally cutting hair, providing free haircuts to homeless folks on the street, doing it because it filled this part of my soul. And I was selling dog collars and leashes, $20 a unit. I was saving all that money, creating care packages and trying to help homeless veterans. I was feeding my soul. Really what I was doing was, it was filling my mission, my purpose, which is to help others, to be part of community. Same way I was when I was an active duty Marine, is taking care of the families, taking care of the Marines. That's the part that I needed to continue on here today. So that's why I started a group called Camis and Canines. And then along the way, there was some awesome people that came into my life who helped me get Camis and Canines off the ground. Ultimately got this ridiculously sized ranch, 289 acres.
I saw that. I was so jealous. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Yeah. But we got it. Why? God, man, the universe. When you're putting good out into the universe, it comes back. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, the number one ingredient to success is make sure that whatever you're entrepreneuring is tied to putting goodness out into the community. As long as you're not hurting anybody, taking advantage of anybody, you're allowed to get paid for your value. You are worth something. Don't undervalue yourself, but don't be taken from people. Don't be hurting people along the way. And if you can abide by that, then I promise you, whatever it is you're doing is going to be successful, right? So
love that.
Yeah. So anyways, I did my thing with Camis and Canines. I'm proud to say under my belt there, we rescued and housed 27 homeless veterans. Eventually I had to step aside. I was getting burnt out. And I had to take care of Kalani. So charity starts at home. And you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family before you can be out in the world doing all this good stuff. So anyways, got my mind right. And then one day I was hanging out with my dad out in his backyard in Riverside and throwing some horseshoes around. And
Okay.
And he says, or I told him, why don't you build a tiny house back here? And he's like, why the hell would I do that? I said, because I would imagine you could finance it somehow, but you rent it out and get that rental income. And if you have this net gain called cash flow, then that can help you pay your existing mortgage. And just like that, I found myself in my first tiny home project. So here we are today. I did like anybody else would. I picked up the phone and called an architect. I picked up the phone and called a general contractor. And thinking that they would have the answers and just help guide me along the way. And they were willing to. They were willing to help guide me, but it was going to cost. And
you figured that the same thing happened to me. I was asking about like steel houses, just like different, like how much it costs to do this. To like the first 3 people I called, they said that I had to. It was they were talking like a significant amount of money just for information.
Yeah.
I was like, "No, we're not doing that."
So I did. I threw down some money, got looped into some long ass drawn out system that was just going to cost me money, and I was smart enough to catch it on the front end, and I aborted mission real quick. I picked up the books. I did all the reading I needed to and got smart on tiny homes, which I learned are called ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And I got hooked. I just kept reading the rules. And the more I read about it, the more opportunity I saw. And I was like, oh my gosh, why isn't every backyard, why isn't anybody else doing this? And I realized it's either A, because they don't know about the ADU opportunity and the benefits it brings them. And if they did, they have no idea where to start, like me. And they picked up the phone and got hooked up with some architect who's taking advantage of them. Here, let me tell you this, put this out to the world. California, ADUs are limited to 2 floors. Okay? Can only do 2 stories high. In California, if it's 2 stories or below, it does not require an architect, period. Yep, period. So I saw this opportunity. I saw how people were doing business, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do things a little bit differently. This was the entrepreneur in me that I didn't know existed. I just wanted to be of service. So I was like, I think I'll just go out there and put out some blogs and make some videos and educate people about ADUs. And I went to an architect and I said, hey, if I create business for you, if I educate folks and bring them in here, can we take care of them? Would that be of value to you? Would you pay me for it? And just like that, I created my own job. I did that for about 3 months until I realized, sitting at my own desk, watching this architect take advantage of the people that I brought him, doing the same shit to them that the other architect did to me. That's when I realized, oh, this is like an industry norm. This is the same, like, I'm not playing that. That's not who I am. And I stayed true to my values. I stayed true to my values. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go do my own thing. This guy isn't taking me serious. He's got me sitting at some desk, stuck in a corner, and doesn't want to give me any real information. He has no idea the level of responsibility I'm used to handling. Clocking in 9 to 5, that ain't me. I'm about mission accomplishment. Nobody's going to outwork me, period. Right? So I took a chance on myself and I created my own website. I created my own logo, created this whole business that I had no idea was going to turn into anything. And I called it ADU Geeks. And that name, ADU Geeks, that name all by itself, that brings me so much business. It's like when you Google ADUs here in San Diego and you come across all these people that claim to be doing ADUs or claim to be experts about ADUs, but you see the name ADU Geeks, like, how do you not call that number? Right. It's not intrusive. It's not aggressive. It's not intimidating, and it works. And we are killing it. And then my logo, look at this thing. That's Charlie in the background. Chuck. Yeah. So we're killing it on the marketing front, but our approach to the community is still the same Kalani, coming from a place of love, coming from a place of service, wanting to help and make a difference. And so today, I am proud to say, here we are, 63 ADU projects later, and I've only been doing this for a year and some change. 63 ADU projects later, our mantra, our philosophy is we treat every ADU like it's my dad's project, okay? We don't always get it right, but we always give it our best. So most of our business comes through word of mouth. Most of our business is earned because we give the information freely to people. Right. Freely. If it's in my head, it's free to you. When I got to start putting stuff down on paper is when I have to charge and cover my overhead, right? Like that's totally within reason. But we don't start with that. This isn't about money. People are doing ADUs so that they could rent it out and create that cash flow. That's why they're doing it. To the extent that I could help them get there, to the extent that I could help them make their vision come true, I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue to put goodness out to the universe because I know it's been proven time and time again. It's going to come right back, period. So I started this thing in my garage, in the middle of COVID. Okay. When dudes are getting fired, laid off, companies are downsizing. Okay. ADU gigs blew up. People were stuck at home. People are like, oh my gosh, I need more space at home. So that helped me for sure. But I really attribute it to just us being good people and really trying to put goodness out into the universe. And here we are today. If you know the San Diego area, we're in the heart of North Park, right across the street from the North Park Theater on the corner of University in Utah.
Okay.
In a 1,100 square foot office space. And we turn this office, we try and make it available to the community, you know. That's part of us putting goodness out into the universe still. See, it's the common thread over and over and over.
Right.
But that's pretty much my story in a nutshell from a high level perspective.
Oh, I love it too, because like I said, I call them commercials, right? The ads, or however you want to put it, that I see on Instagram and on your social media are, first of all, they're high level of quality as far as like visual, but also the information you're giving out is very well presented. And like, I love it. It gets the point across, but it's also, it's showing, your level of know-how. And people like me appreciate that. It makes me always feel like there's another level and that I can achieve when I see somebody else unlock it.
Well, let me tell you this. I appreciate that compliment. Everything that you hear me saying on those commercials is what you called it.
Right.
That's me giving information away for free, period. All that information I'm giving away for free is online, available to you. I'm just trying to make it easily accessible.
Right.
So you do not need to pay anybody for the information. You don't need to pay no architect. You don't need to pay me for that info. It's online. If you're in San Diego City, go to the San Diego City website, type in ADU, pull up the building regulations, and read for yourself. It's not hard. It's not hard. And that's all I've done because I was trying to figure it out for myself. And now I'm just turning around and trying to help others so that they don't have to go through the ass bleeding pain that I went through to get this information.
Man, I love it. And, I know you talked about that you're killing it out in the civilian world. That's also another motivation for those that are, scared about getting out or like possibly hesitant about transitioning out, especially during this time where, people are talking about how a lot of jobs are unavailable or it's harder to get to a lot of these jobs. But you said that you were obviously, to me, you were already successful at the Camis and Canines, and to watch your progress happen with the ADU Geeks. So you're opening your very first store with ADU Geeks. You've already been working on it, like you said, throughout your garage, and you've been doing, the commercials, giving out the information. But now you're going to have your actual own location, and that's supposed to be the 23rd of this month?
Yeah, April 23rd is our grand opening here for ADU Geeks. We've 60 plus projects into this thing. We've been here at this office space for going on 6 months now. Our team looked at each other like, we should probably do a grand opening just because, like, we've earned it. We've deserved it. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing. It's a milestone. And that's the other thing. Like, as Marines, we don't really celebrate our wins because it's look at our candy cane on our chest. It's not like the Navy, not like the Army. Why? Because Marines have this thing in their head where it's like, oh, I'm just doing my job.
That is true. I will give you that.
Right? So we have to take time to celebrate our milestones, celebrate our successes. You Marines, active duty, reserves, whatever, please take the time to celebrate yourself, celebrate your successes, no matter how small or big they are. And so for us, having this grand opening, that's what it's about. We're celebrating. We're saying, hey, look how far we've come, and look how far we're going to go with the
Right.
that's what the grand opening is going to be. So, to the extent, if you don't even know what ADU Geeks is, if you don't know what ADUs are, I would encourage you to follow me on Instagram, Kalani Creutzburg. I'm sure you guys will put it up on the screen somewhere.
Yeah. So I have it in the description down below in the actual YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll continue to put that information out there for you. And if you have a question, if there's a topic you want me to talk about, then let me know. If you want me to write about it, I got a few blogs out there. I said it a few times, being a good writer is important to me. So I'm looking for something to write about. Send me the questions.
Now, what time are you doing this grand opening? Because I want to make sure I tell people about it. All I had was the date. I watched your last commercial, and it said that it was going to be on the 23rd of April, but I just didn't know what time it was going to be doing it.
It's 5 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 5 to 7 p.m. So I like to spend a few minutes talking about what ADUs are. Okay,
Let's do it.
If you got property, you have a backyard, if you have a garage, ADUs basically is a tiny home on your property. And with the way the rules are written, you are allowed to convert your garage into a tiny home, into an ADU. I'm using the words tiny home and ADU interchangeably here.
Right.
So if you've got a backyard with some space, you could convert that square footage into a tiny home. The reasons why you want to do this is because that vacant space right now is costing you rental income. If you have a 2-car garage here in San Diego, that's 400 square feet. I could turn that into a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and you could easily rent it out for $1,700, $1,800, and you finance it over 30 years. Your financing costs are like $800-900 a month. So that difference is your monthly cash flow that you can do whatever you want with it. Pay down your existing mortgage, save up for a big ass Christmas. I don't know, it's up to you. But the point is, if you don't do the ADU, it's actually costing you money. All right. So if you're sitting on a property, don't sell, even though it's a seller's market. Buyers, the reason why it's a seller's market is because all these buyers are out there paying top dollar. You know why they're paying top dollar? Because they're staring at your backyard. They're staring at your garage and they know the ADU potential. Well, now you know what that potential is. Now you know you can have an ADU up to 1,200 square feet. You could do the ADU, rent it out, and create that cash flow. You can finance the entire ADU project, start to finish, over 30 years. You could either use your equity, using a home equity line of credit. You could do a cash out refinance. If you don't have the equity, then you can get a loan that is taken against the future value of the property after the ADU is built. Create the equity that way. If you need a small personal loan up to 100 grand, I can do that for you in-house. So there's a million different ways that we can finance your ADU projects. But I don't want to hear this thing about, well, I use my garage, my car's in there, all my stuff is in there, I use it as storage. Well, take that stuff, put it in, rent a storage space for $150 a month, because you could be renting out your garage for $1,500 a month, right? So, or put that car out on the street, park it on the street, because that car is costing you that $1,500 a month in rental income. So, I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff to think about, but by and large, now you know what an ADU is. There's a lot of folks out there claiming to be ADU experts, but there's only going to be one ADU geek, always. And that is the one and only. All right. So hit us up. Go to adugeeks.com. Follow us on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. We got a huge team here. Half of our team here are veterans, so we get it. If you're active duty right now and you're not getting into real estate, like, you're wrong. You need to be doing real estate right now, period. And if you got that property, make sure you get an ADU. Hey, there's a tiny home festival coming up at the end of, or in May. It's at the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
I'm about to write this down.
Yeah, Del Mar Fairgrounds, tiny home festival. The ADU Geeks team will be there. We're going to have one of our shipping containers there. We've converted shipping containers into an ADU, like fully decked out. I can drop, and I know you Marines are like, hell no, I don't want a shipping container.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these things
with the
are
packing
like,
list on the outside and inside. Nah,
yeah,
we're good.
Yeah, no, these things look immaculate inside. And once they're delivered, I can cover up that corrugated siding. I can make it flat and then put stucco on it, make it look like your house. I can make it look like it's a log cabin, whatever you want. So just get away from the steel box that you're used to sleeping in out of the Middle East. That's not what I'm talking about. But the reason why you may want to entertain a shipping container is because it's very little construction on your property. We literally just come deliver it, drop it off, and you're set.
I actually have a few questions I want to talk to you about personally on the after we're done with this, but that's awesome. Like the fact that you even put a lot of that information out. This is the type of information that a lot of people try to hide and they don't want to tell other people about because they don't want to get them ahead of the game. They want to, they want to be ahead of everybody else. Yeah. But the fact that you're giving away this information, once again, goes to show that you're extremely selfless and that you actually care about the success of others.
Absolutely. Like there's enough information on my website. Go to the FAQ page, frequently asked questions. There's enough information there for you to go start your own ADU business. I mean, but that's on you. Like being an entrepreneur, it's more than just a decision to be an entrepreneur and do your own thing. What's the definition of entrepreneurship? It's somebody who takes risks. Man, it's way more than that. It's somebody, an entrepreneur is going to show up disciplined as fuck every single day, working on something that nobody else sees, working on something that nobody else understands or believes in. But every single day shows up, making moves, making it just one step further, right? For God knows how long. We are the entrepreneurs. This is the only breed that will quit a 40-hour work week job just so we could go work for ourselves, putting in 120 hours a week. Okay. So it's a unique process to go through, but you've got to see it as a process and enjoy the process. I'm talking about entrepreneurship, right? The level of responsibility that comes with it, be careful what you ask for. What happens if you're successful? I was in a garage. Now we got this nice ass storefront on the corner in the heart of North Park. Be careful what you ask for. Now I'm responsible for paying all these bills, making payroll and all these things. And the stress just keeps adding up. But I'm enjoying the process and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's what fills my tank. It's what keeps me happy. It provides me mission. It provides me a purpose. And that's why, in where depression can be a very real thing for me. That's why I'm still here chugging along. The VA, as much as they've helped me, they've given me an ungodly amount of meds to take and pills to take. I don't take any of that stuff. My drug of choice, my medicine of choice is being of service towards others and being an entrepreneur.
I love that. Like literally everything that, you talk about that you stand for is like literally what motivates me to do things like this podcast, do things like, trying to help other people all the time. It's like, I don't feel anything from money. Money doesn't do it for me. Like money is something that helps to fuel in order to do what my purpose is. But like, money doesn't motivate me.
So money is just energy.
Right.
That's all it is. Money is, aside from the bills that we have to pay, And I learned this in the Marine Corps. Aside from the bills that we have to pay, like people don't show up to work for money.
Right.
People want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. People want to make a difference. People want to be the best version of themselves. So if you set the conditions for them to achieve all of that, that's how you're going to get long-term results from your team members, period. And that's what we do here. So, I mean, entrepreneur stuff is something I could speak on for days. Ways to motivate, ways to create teams, highly successful teams, ways to get long-term results from folks. You know, I can probably write books on it, but at the end of the day, it's Marine Corps Leadership 101. That's all it is. And so I'll wrap it up by saying this: all you Marines out there, whether, you know, past, present, future, whatever, like every single one of you are CEOs in your own right. The level of responsibility you're used to. Half these jokesters out here in the civilian world don't have the same comfort with the level of responsibility that you guys have, right? Your willingness to make decisions in the absence of leadership. You're gonna have to do that as a CEO. My folks know here that they don't make a decision. I try and let them make decisions so that they can feel like they're making that difference. They're part of the team. But at the end of the day, I have no problem making decisions, period. Right? And just taking care of others, being organized, having the discipline, and just chugging along. And then you survived boot camp, you survived your drill instructors. You can survive, if you could survive that shit, then you can survive the harshness of the realities that we're dealing with out here, period. But don't go through the process alone. Don't be an entrepreneur alone. It could be lonely as hell, okay? Latch on to others, have mentors. Feel free to reach out to me at ADU Geeks or on Instagram. You don't have to go through the process alone. There's plenty of folks out there willing to help others out, because we know that the more I help other people succeed, that's how I succeed. If I'm not successful today, that is 100% because I did not help enough other people to be successful today. That's it. So.
No, that's a great way of thinking about it, you know, and that, you know, I know we can go around this topic forever, but it just goes to show, like, you know, what is your purpose? What do you think you are on this earth to do? I'm not on this earth to just go out there and make them, you know, step on people to make $1 million. It doesn't do it for me. You know, I'm living my purpose, which is to, you know, to help others and to help to get the word out about how great veterans are. And you're living your purpose. I mean, you've already proven it through actual, like, through tangible results. You know, you're here to help other people, pulling people off the street, homeless veterans, giving new opportunities to those that didn't have it before, building homes and giving light and giving information to those about how they can improve their future, and they don't even know it. That is huge. And you've just, I mean, all the information that I'm getting from this interview, like I said, I want to have a couple minute conversation when we get off this, because I definitely have some ideas, and I would definitely love your help with that. I'm sure, hopefully you have time to do that.
Yeah, I always got time for Marines, period. That's another thing. Always make time for your Marines. Always make time for Marines. Never, ever miss an opportunity to connect with your Marines, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that was so, I love this. Thank you to everyone that supported in the chat. I know a bunch of, hopefully I didn't miss any comments. A bunch of people were like commenting in the chat. Thank you for those that have hit me up on personal messages already. I see them kind of like flying in on my phone as we're going through. I want to say special thanks to Kalani for coming out here and you know, showing up on the platform and giving all that great information. I know you might have just sparked, you know what I'm saying, the mindset for somebody to go out there and either do something to dealing with ADUs. You might get some phone calls after this, you know, or they may just set something up for themselves as far as what they're going to do for their future.
Yeah, well, hey, to the extent that I can be of assistance and just help, that's it. I'd be happy to help. For those of you who think you want to be an entrepreneur or feel like you've got the entrepreneurial spirit in you, or maybe you're already doing something and you need some assistance, some guidance, some help, give me a buzz. I have seriously been thinking about, in the spirit of community, in the spirit of putting goodness out into the world and helping others succeed. It's like, how do I cast a wider net? And I have actually been seriously contemplating hosting like a startup incubator or something. We meet once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I will help you get your project off the ground. I guarantee that I can help you get your project off the ground in a very fast and efficient way, and you'll start making money. At the end of the day, though, it's about your attitude. It's about your discipline. It's about you getting out there and showing up every single day, no matter what. But I will set the conditions. I will set the stage, the atmosphere for you to succeed, but you got to do the work. If you want to do that, give me a call, and if I get enough folks, then maybe we'll start this small business startup incubator. We'll give it some cool name, and we'll inspired by you in this podcast. In which I want to give you some kudos, because you talk about persistence. I've been watching you do this thing for at least a year, and I remember when it was small, when it was nothing, and it's definitely turning into something now. You've come a long way. The quality of your videos and your podcast and all that stuff and your little sounds that you got going on. That's your cue to hit one of those buttons right now.
Oh, like this one? No, I'm just kidding. I won't give you that one.
Yeah. No, like it's really, really cool. And but now it's time for you. I'm putting you on blast in front of everybody right now. It is time for you to really start monetizing this thing. You're missing opportunities. You know, you definitely have something going on here. So let's start turning these sponsors, getting sponsors if you don't have them already, and charging for it, period. You yourself are providing so much value out there. You yourself are, and you have every right to be charging for it. It's just a matter of creating a model that works for everybody.
Right.
Okay. And then once we find that sweet spot, we create this system that keeps feeding itself, and it'll continue to grow.
I appreciate that. And, you know, we definitely have, we've had some sponsors, and there's always room to improve with the model that you're doing, like what you're talking about. Because, you know, sometimes I don't think, I'm so opposite of thinking money that you're right. I miss a lot of opportunities, you know, to be able to get that, you know, something that's earned, that, you know, that's owed to me, I guess. I owe it to myself to make a bigger push for that. And, you know, this dude named Grant Cardone, I'm sure you know who it is. He's got this thing where he talks about you have to change the way you think about money. And one of the examples that he says is like, you know, some people are like, oh, you know, I don't care about money and this, it's not about money. He's like, to an extent, you have to make certain things about money. Like that has to be in somewhere of your list of important things, is you have to make money important.
Yeah. And again, money is just energy. You don't have to be slave to money. You don't have to like get wrapped around money. If you're over here chasing money and that's all it's going to be, you're never going to have it, period.
Right.
But you have every right to charge, to ask to be compensated for your value, the value you're bringing folks.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's a self-value. How much do you value yourself? I'll just throw that out there and let's talk about the elephant in the room. It's like, how much do you value yourself? I went through it. First, I was selling dog collars and leashes for $20, and that was scary as hell. I was scared because of rejection. What if somebody said no? And then I got into this ADU thing, and I started doing like certain things where I was doing it for free, and somebody was like, you should be charging. So I was charging $250. a piece. Now I'm charging $499. Now I got some services where we charge $7,500. And now we do that 10 times a month. Now I've got revenues coming in 20 G. My accounts receivables every month is about 20 G's a month. And I don't even think about that. It's not money. It's not this physical green piece of paper. It's energy, right? So if I'm not thinking in a for-profit way, this is going to be a nonprofit operation. And I'm not doing this as a nonprofit. Your podcast should not be a nonprofit. You have too wide of an audience. You have a lot of viewers. You could use more. You've got a wonderful platform. It's all value, and you have every right to charge for it. So I am saying what I'm saying now because I want to put it into the universe. I want to put it into the universe that at some point here soon, we're going to turn your podcast into something where you are at least financially compensated for the amount of time and energy you've been putting into this wonderful thing that you've created.
Hey, thank you. I truly appreciate that. And that is a great question that you asked, is like, you know, how much do you value yourself? I can see how it can definitely be perceived that, you know, when you're not receiving compensation, monetary compensation, to where it may not seem, I mean, I definitely think very highly of myself, but, you know, you should be compensated. Like, nobody goes to work for free. And essentially, you know, you're doing some form of work, trading services, you know, however, creating information for others to benefit from is a form of service, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this time. I would love to keep rapping about ADUs. It's always great connecting with a Marine that I had the honor and the privilege to serve next to. It's really great seeing you be and achieve the level of successes that you've achieved. To the extent that I can be of service to you or any of your listeners, please let me know. I'm just a phone call away. I'm right here in North Park. I'm the dude with the crazy ponytail. No longer in the Marine Corps, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Much love. Thank you for the invitation. And I would jump at the opportunity to jump back on again. And to the extent that I didn't answer any of your questions because I had no idea that there was some chat room going on, blame it on him. He didn't get to it.
Oh, man. Hey, much love to you. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit you up after this. A couple questions that I got, you know, if you got some time, and I'm pretty sure you're going to answer those questions because you kind of talked about it a little bit. So thank you all to those that viewed. Thank you to those that are going to be viewing on the watch back. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.